Hello and welcome to another Game Nexus arcade video. Today we're going to be taking a look at Dead or Alive, released in 1996 on the Sega Model 2 arcade hardware. This will actually be my first video of this game running on the original arcade board. Now I just want to show you the actual English translation here, which for the most part is okay. The worst one here is the one that I'll show you at the very end, which is Jan Lee. His favorite food apparently is a humburger. So I guess they didn't proofread any of this. But yeah, as I was saying, this game was released on the Sega Model 2 hardware in 1996. There was actually a version for the Model 2A and the Model 2B. The version that I have is for the Model 2A. But I can honestly tell you they are exactly the same game. There's no differences between them. My guess would be is that Tecmo released it for both of the boards because they wanted arcade operators who had either or board could convert their boards, or of course then they wouldn't have to worry about any compatibility problems basically for the conversions. But it goes without saying, if you've never played the arcade version of Dead or Alive, it's just a beautiful game. It looks amazing compared to any other version of this game. Because the biggest problem is, even the only actual direct port of Dead or Alive to a console from this arcade version, which was the Sega Saturn version, unfortunately, just like the Sega Saturn version of Virtua Fighter 2, it loses the nice 3D backgrounds and a bunch of detail in the character models, because the Sega Saturn, simply enough, just wasn't as powerful of a machine as especially the Sega Model 2. Since the Sega Model 2 could map much higher poly models and its texture mapping capabilities, there was basically no comparison. Like, for instance, just like in Virtua Fighter 2, you have the swaying bridge in this scene, where in the, and then if you look at the little hut in the background there, it's like fully rendered in 3D. Whereas in the Sega Saturn and, of course, the Xbox Dead or Alive Ultimate, which was just a port of the Sega Saturn version, the bridge was just kind of part of the ceiling texture, that's all. And I love that throw that Jan Lee does, and of course I love when Raito does it as well, because when Raito does it, when he's slamming your head to the ground, he just screams and goes like, "Dah!" I don't know why, I just love that part. Because more or less he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna smash your face right on the ground, there's nothing you can do about it. And I decided to use Jan Lee's third costume here, since I really think it's a cool looking costume. And basically the costumes from the original Dead or Alive here were represented in other versions as well, but if you want to see all three costumes for every character in their full glory, if you look on the Game Nexus website, which is actually linked on my channel, I actually have put them in my Dead or Alive full costume guide, so you can actually see what the costumes look like. And as you saw there, this game only had the original 8 characters, which were Kasumi, Li Fang, Tina, Jan Lee, Genfu, Zack, Bayman. So there was no Bass Armstrong or Ayane. Oh, and Hayabusa. I can't forget Hayabusa. But so far, this is what you're seeing being played out here is actually my third time fully through the arcade mode, and one thing I have to say is, even compared to the Sega Saturn version, even on normal, the difficulty of this game is actually quite high. You'd really be surprised, because It's one of those games that you think to yourself, yeah, this game's going to be a pushover, it's not going to be a problem, but my personal opinion is I think they may have dumbed down the difficulty a little bit for the console version. And unfortunately, it's kind of hard to notice. Unlike the Shun-Di stage in Virtua Fighter 2, the overpass there is actually fully rendered in 3D. But it's kind of hard to see that because the actual, you know, stage doesn't move like Shun-Di's, like, floating stage. And you'll notice in this stage, like, those number readouts behind there are all moving and everything. And I know I'd made mention in one of my various Dead or Alive videos that the fans spin around. And of course, all the scaffolding you can clearly see is in 3D, so when the stage initially kind of has that rotation effect when it first, like, comes into the stage, you can see a lot of those details a lot better. And one thing I definitely noticed when I play this in the arcade as opposed to the home version, especially the beginning there of Genfu's music, just sounds a lot different compared to the home version. I think they just tuned it up a bit when it came to the Sega Saturn version, since they had the full, like, Red Book audio to mess with, so they could actually give it a few more instruments as opposed to just running it off a ROM board. But one thing I was really surprised with this gameplay, Genfu is one of those characters that always seems to give me trouble, and I was able to get right through him. But as I said, this is my third time that I've actually gotten through the game on the real arcade board here, and this is actually my fastest time. Up to this point, of course. I'm sure I will have other videos later on where I will probably make the time that I'm doing here look like nothing. And unfortunately, unlike the PlayStation and Plus versions, there's no, like, hidden battle if you're really fast. And that's one thing I will definitely say about Kasumi, since she's round 8, and she's, like, the highest difficulty other than Raido, she can be pretty brutal, especially with her reversals, so you have to kind of really be careful that she's not gonna mess you up. And of course, the thing I love about this stage is it is the fully moving danger zone, so it actually moves down this slope, and as you're fighting on the stage, you will see other platforms moving up and down on your sides as you're in this stage, which is really cool. It's a really nice stage, and I'm just really glad it has such a nice effect to it. Whereas if you remember when I did the Sega Saturn version, it was just a static platform with just kind of the danger zone backgrounds. And I know I've made mention of it in my other videos, but I love that intro for Raido where, like, the lightning strikes and he just kind of appears. And that's one thing I definitely love about the Sega Saturn version and the arcade version, is when you do the combos, it actually has, like, the 1, 2, 3, 4 that goes below your life bar to indicate how many hits you do. I think it's a nice little touch, and as I'd mentioned in my other videos for Dead or Alive, I think it's an unfortunate part that the life bars get very simplified in some of the later entries of the game. So it's really cool to see them, like, at their full potential here, if you will. And, like, the looks and the sounds of this board are just great. And the funny thing is, when I first started playing this on the real board, I thought that the white background in the door back there was like a glitch. But then I looked at it in other gameplays and even on the emulator, and it actually that's just how it is. There's no background there where that's supposed to be. I guess you're not supposed to see what's in there. And now this was something that was another surprise to me, that I was able to actually get right through Raido without a loss. I did have a couple losses here and there, but all in all, for what, as I've said, is a fairly hard arcade game, 7/16 was not a bad time considering my first gameplay with Kasumi, which, if you've watched my intros video, you probably saw it in the high scores, which was about like almost 9 minutes. And then my first time I beat it with Jan Lee, I got about, I think it was somewhere around 10 or 11 minutes. And honestly, I did not really think that was that great of a score to display in a video, so that's why I did this gameplay, this being my actual third time getting through this. But it goes without saying, the arcade version of Dead or Alive is an excellent game, and I would highly recommend everyone either play this on a real arcade board or arcade machine, or, if you have to, play it on an emulator like the Nebula Model 2 emulator, which runs this game rather well, unlike the old days where there used to be all kinds of graphics glitches. But regardless of how you get to play this, play the arcade version of Dead or Alive. It's always going to be a fun experience. And since, as I said, this is my best playthrough of this in the original arcade board, I got the #1 ranking here. But the only difference between having this in USA mode and having this in Japanese mode is those text endings are gone. But that's all. And this has been another GameNexus arcade video, and I'll see you later. Bye.